नमस्कार. आयच्या ह्या खाशेल्या कार्यावळीत तुमकां सगळ्यांक येवकार. आज आमचे बरोबर आसात वन ऑफ इंडियाज रिनाउंड फिल्म मेकर सईद मिर्झा. सर, वेलकम टू द शो. We'll start with the main burning issue. You returned the awards, you supported the FTII students' agitation in Goa also. What was the moment where you decided that I need to throw my hat into this controversy, stand up and return my awards and support the students? What was that exact moment when you decided?
It was a very painful moment actually, and it is not just the FTI students who are just by themselves, but a kind of situation in the country that I found quite disturbing. And I felt I needed to add my voice to the sense of, not outrage, but the sense of despair that I felt. You know, here's a country that could be a glorious example to the rest of the world. I mean, imagine a country that has 16 major languages. Can you imagine a country like this? Look at the difference in terms of food habits, dress, religions. And you feel proud to be part of this great pluralism. And then you see it being whittled down over time. You see it whittled down over time, where you have events that are occurring in the country, and I'm pretty old, so I can trace a history of the journey of my nation. I can trace a kind of history. And I felt, what is happening? I mean, there were minor events, some major events, and some again minor events of, you have communal riots or ethnic riots or caste riots. And you felt कि यार ठीक है मगर वो the aberrations. But for how long? Aberrations. And then you had mass slaughter, mass murder. It said to shakes you up. And that's when I felt कि यार toss your hat and say it, because you have to speak up now, because if you don't speak up now, it will be a crime.
Correct.
It will be a crime. And it is to regain poetry for a nation.
Do you think this hatred towards pluralism or this disregard towards diversity, why it is happening right now? Is it anything to do with the rise of Narendra Modi, or this has been happening from decades and now it is becoming more visible and prominent, and that's why we are noticing it? How are you analyzing it?
I try to analyze it from the time of independence. अगर आप वहाँ से जाएं, and you realize that there were forces which were opposed. They were always there, opposed to the idea of a constitution which guaranteed freedom of expression, freedom of religion, equality of all before the law of the land. Incredible. And then they were always there. And then you saw these rising, like I mentioned earlier, the minor riots here, a skirmish there, some burning of shop, looting of something is happening. But yeah, they were happening. The attacks on Dalits, the attack on tribal, the attack on minorities. You felt, ये क्या हो रहा है? क्या हो रहा है ये? And again, no accountability. Though they were minor, but there'll be some commission of inquiry set up, and nothing really happening. But when it came to large-scale rioting and looting and killing, that it means what message are you sending out to those rioters? What message are you sending out to the people of India? You can get away. It can almost sound like a cliche, get away with murder. But you can get away with mass murder. You can get away. And personally I felt, if you see the journey of our nation from 1984, you had the anti-Sikh riots. You had a militant movement starting up in Punjab and the storming of the Golden Temple, and then mass murder followed by slaughter. And you wonder. Yes, commission of inquiry was set up, and what happened? How long does it take for people to go to jail? How long does it take? And then, if you see those times, you have the Jayaprakash Narayan movement starting up, going there, you have the Mandal Commission going on and all that happening, and you have the Ram Janmabhoomi movement starting up. It's all happening. It's all happening as a nation, that at least in the north, is an incredible turmoil. And then you have the demolition of the Babri Masjid. What happened? And was that a constitutional thing? That act of man, was it really constitutional? There were hundreds of reporters there, hundreds of journalists there. They saw what was happening. They knew who was responsible.
The argument that is put forth by some of the right-wing supporters is that you don't call a country intolerant based on some stray incidents. These are hardly one or two incidents or 3-4 incidents, and now the intellectuals are coming up in arms to protest against the government, to return the awards, to create a bad image of the country on international scenario. These are the arguments put forth by them. How would you reply to that?
You know, it's not now, it's a build-up over time that's really happened. It's not just now. And today, I feel that the same forces that were opposed to the nature of India as envisaged in the Constitution, they were always opposed to it. They were always there. They've always been around. And today they're in the sunlight. My question is to anybody, and here my name is Arvind Desai, here my name is Saeed Mirza, here my name is Albert Pinto, here my name is Mohan Joshi, my name is anything. What kind of India do we want? Yes, there are tensions, social tensions that occur over time in terms of through economic tensions, through political tensions, they occur over time. And those tensions in terms of society have their pulls and pluses. They all sab kuch ho raha hai saath mein. But there must be a law above it all. Yes, we understand. But over time. And today, I feel that because we didn't nip it in the bud at the time it should have been done, a message has been sent. You can kill.
What has triggered this whole scenario at this moment, in today's times? What is the trigger?
Look, it started with the FTII agitation. Pune, students, yaar. To me, they are poets. वो सब शायर हैं, कवि हैं. Because what are they fighting for? उनकी बहस क्या है? They're not asking for leniency in exams.
Correct.
They're not asking for reservations. Job मिलेगा उसके बाद. वो नहीं पूछ रहे. They are talking about the dignity of an institution, which is supposed to be a center for excellence. अच्छा. And they said, आपने किसको भेजा ऊपर? उनकी तारीख क्या है? What is their history? What have they contributed in terms of what are their cultural accreditations? वो क्या है? Huh? And these were the same students when Dabolkar Sahib was murdered. Before this agitation started, they marched.
Correct.
On the streets of Pune. यही लड़के बच्चे. They marched. See, यही गलत हो रहा है. तो उनकी तारीख, it's not just academics, they are talking about a cultural environment which is constitutional. And I backed them up.
As a former chairman of FTII, do you feel disgusted by the choice of person that has been sent as the new chairman?
I'm not interested in the person they've selected. I'm interested in the people behind the selection. I mean, बहस क्या है? I don't know Mr. Gajendra Chauhan, and nor do I really. But he is not qualified. सच्चाई ये है. उसके साथ 4 और मेंबर्स, उनकी तारीख देख लीजिए आप. ये कहाँ से आए हैं? ये कहाँ से आए हैं? And And then you wonder, in the arrogance of the selection committee. अच्छा FTI उसको डाल दो उसको. क्यों? क्या वो हमारी आदमी है ना. वैसे दूसरे लोग भी करते हैं, but at least there was some background to a selection. यहाँ कुछ भी नहीं. Now I feel the arrogance and the indignity imposed on a space which is a center for excellence. भैया क्या कर रहे हैं आप? तो सोचिए. अभी आप अड़ गए. जो मैंने सुना है कि वो खुद जानते हैं कि वो गलत चॉइसेस हैं. अब नहीं वापस जा सकते हैं क्योंकि अब सवाल बन गया कि भाई हम कैसे वापस जाएं.
Is this a systematic attempt to take over our center of excellence or take over the centers of performing arts?
Educational institutions, performing arts, newspapers, television channels, what has that got to do? It's all got to do with the mind. And when you start this kind of journey, there are historical examples before this in the history of the world.
Is this an attempt to hijack that intellectual space or the mind space of the country?
Hijack the Constitution of India. Not, it's the Constitution that I'm standing by. You make speeches about how you love the Constitution, but you were the same guys who opposed it. And still do. Then they keep going, something about sabka vikas, sabka saath. Do you really mean it? Do you really mean it? You've got to use, and don't use words which destroy the meaning of the Constitution. It's so easy, these comes very easily. बोलने में कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. करके दिखाओ. और सिर्फ यहाँ से नहीं, मैं कह रहा हूँ, not just this, it has been happening for over time.
But what is it? Are you saying that the present day government is encouraging such radicals? Is it protecting such radicals? Or is it resisting action against such elements? So what is it that the government is doing, and what is
my perception is there's no such thing like so-called fringe elements. It's in the center. It's a way of seeing a world. It's how you think that has to change. If you stand by the Constitution and you can't change how you think, there'll be problems. How do you see a world? How do you see India? जब वो जाते हैं, and I was there at the Bihar election, I was just driving around sensing in the first phase कि क्या क्या हो रहा है यहाँ. तो I drove around Bihar और देखा मैंने. आप आते हैं, विकास विकास विकास, suddenly beef, suddenly Pakistan. But the Prime Minister of India talks about reservation, the threat of the possible reservation for Muslims. ये सबका साथ सबका बेका, ये कहाँ से आ गया? आपके पार्लियामेंट में एक औरत कहती है रामजादे हरामजादे. वो हैं पार्लियामेंट के अंदर. Have you heard this kind of people being there in parliament? I heard of thugs. I've heard of corruption. I haven't heard this kind of person also in parliament now. I haven't heard of this. You've got people who say, जो यहाँ यही खाता है, beef खाता है, तो जाओ पाकिस्तान.